Nobody should die because of your color. Momanya nakafa ila color ila color la ko momanya na fala wala. Manya nakaso wala. Gambia no le nyanta ka nyamuta bakilim fakili neti ajibe yusfa abfata Gambia di yala kono. So Gambia di jube ba mel bidam. Ando molta fala manyi information so molta fala ko yusfa fa mamba kalma. So Gambia no le ningambe ko be kere alkal funde alena lenyo fasa alenyo muta alenyo makoy. Wala ben sambala wala be Africa sambala. Africa ni manyo muta manke clean na bank na Africa titano. So nyanda nyimbondila na pol kono le kafo kon ni mantar ku clean kono na mantar kafuri so ni mantoro lata kan so ndita la koto ni ma bla na banko titala adum Gambia diwlu wala mun daji kote so mbe Gambia diwlu be kumandla nga foy ko ni ñoo sifal be keren ali nga kafu ñoma nga ñoo mako nga ñoo support nga lo ñose ngana jibe ko man sakunda la mindi wala ñi mantar man sakunda nga ñoo muta baklim faklim nga lo ñoy nga ñoo fasa nga ñoo support. That's the best thing pour que ñi nonsense sifal bay na community kono ni man ñoo muta ñi menke da usefala be kala modo fana nale ate stop la ñina because of ibajela ko usefama mo soto ama mo soto member defend la so ibakela modo la fana na so ika potra sina kiline akake fula ay ke saba wo be stop la ñadi le albe kafla ñoma alia ko kele ay dang so pour ka dang mbe kafla ñoma le nga ñoma ko ala barka. Thank you very much.
To jama'a barkan ene wi su wi nkwala na ba nkwala nkitwa mbana so mpese omode ball gumwa o muntimi because steps bi eni hwa o mbe sumna o mbe ko wa gani sheshe ngodi dama ci gaban kenan kowa da hanyar da shi ma yake bi ya nuna damuwar shi ko kuma yayi magarin shi ko kasan shi jihadi shin ke ga ni na doki haka kai kuma ka shaye ko kai kuma ka wani kai ka faɗi abin da ya kamata a faɗi kai ma kai naka muna aiki kenan ni da ku ke yi in ba dan ku ba da ba ni rashin kana yin ba dole ne shi kowa ya zo ya tsaya yayi magana irin haka ba amma ka samu masu magana kan suka yi yawa to yana taimakawa kaga yaron nan kashi fa suke da tattaka ne kai ku balle kan wurin nan in gani ko a haye jira no toilet ne hanan kwala ba hawa muko mutole ce cire nono uku
Family kuma say change when it is denied or too long delayed.
Rachi Ghana.
Violence will break out here and there. If it continues like this, one day we will arise.
Whether nenye so many be ya every yara ya bra ka ya ni ase me kushirawa. If you are there, I am fan of Krenya, you man, will be an opportunity and not a so upon Ubiara Biara. Get that senti penny no can of cray. Only with the air pass one year with the any bread. Near to fruit best son, your man bonobo, or Jane say where you're captain when you're smart or so bread. Omum pay asem, Omudi atem, Omushem Rabone, Sebi Yabem. They do say a betwaba, no more than that form. Omunyani, who's a home Brasiani, is Sikacom. To me, I could baby my year, who answers so fast. Pesemin kumenye biti no me ya daso on hwechi don fo se hu be hia na ya bato de kokro moti peja mo afidi e hwemo maso mu wie sika to dan ya buchire corona ba e ma mutu kwan for check up makafie munye kromu hospital de aka mu ni sikadie aban die tendency na kululu kufu shachire senyanku pompo e ka so be shira Ghana anyimi be yi ni ti so ntwenke se oje percentage de di suban boni sei e ti o man yi mu ha be dey na China for met na has take advantage. Nagalam say ya put on Sony chaka excavate CCTV ya echira sem ye basa why ya Ghana movie na party 2 duwa ne shaka ba e wa boka gu duwa so be ne pacha.
When you suppress people for quite a long time and you suppress me, I will watch it right.
Enyobia Sebeya Ifria and then the bread and Bible, our grass yet, if for poor, make a book, I is Ubaya, Ibisia,
Nkroma factories aya shama nagu Monya na mudi sika importi broni wewu theater motor is it a grassy school dangu. I wear me a school for that what you say tango. Yes, mobile must say myself country. I in a country I must say myself with country. If you say to be but you must say any and I say probably you might be serving nothing from the country. Good example is a rose. Check it
I can't see you.
In the Afina say 1965 the Mamoto way by a
yeah, maybe yeah, the one I sent you the last one I sent you.
Obeka manager, your party member Tanachi, and then I don't want we ember corruption, so bribe no we. Do we see Canwa than Yashi Rastaman for we? Open a quarter seminar check what I saw free to kill the real pussy while we put the Denmark police.
Now rise! It may be catastrophic. When I
I'll present it.
It may be dangerous.
Yeah, you are not in.
Who was sitting on me?
Okay, good.
One day, the youth of this country will rise.
Voice of the youth.
Enyobia, Enyobia, Enyobia. Sedeya, Zenyaya, Ifriya, Yafodo, and no crack, and Bible, our brassier, Yafobo, Nikabo, Yesubaya, Ebisia, Papaoso, 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 Papaoso,
Raga Empire.
Andy on the mix.
Yeah, hello people, hello everybody. Thank you for being here. This is your back again on the Nation Building now. Today I'll be live with Nii Aryee of the Economic Fighters League Communication Command, and I know you are all of you be here to to listen to the little conversation that we are going to do. Please, if you are here, kindly what you are going to do is just share the video and welcome the people and let everybody be part of this conversation. My name is Yusuf Yahuza Bamba. My name is Raz Bamba, you know, as usual. And then, you know what we are doing just for the nation. Today, I don't want to talk much, and then straight away, I will introduce you to my colleague who is also here with me, Mr. Nii Aryee. Hello, Comrade Nii Aryee. Welcome.
Greetings, comrade. Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah, I want you to introduce yourself to the people, although you have been several times on this kind of programs, so that you tell people what you do and who you are. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Greetings to audiences out there. And my name is Nii Aryee Opare. I am with the Communications Command of the Economic Fighters League. For short, fighters. That's how we become known as. And yes, we're a youth organization that has been championing the economic freedom for our people. And we believe political independence is not enough. We must have economic independence. And it's from that we can see all the social changes that we've been pushing and fighting for. So yes, I'm looking forward to this discussion. I'm looking at how we can actually get on board the campaign to fix our country and to get the youth to understand exactly what we're talking about. Yes.
Okay, good. Commander, okay, as a Comrade Nii Aryee, can you tell us how can you build a nation, the nation building? What are the strategies we can take to build a nation?
Right. So first off, I'd like us to just get a brief understanding of what a nation is, right? And we have to be able to differentiate between what a nation is and what a country is. As it stands in our current political dispensation, Ghana cannot be referred to as a nation. It's, however, a country. So someone might be wondering, what's the difference between a nation and a country? Well, a country basically has to do with the land, all right? It's just the territory. So but then the nation is actually a people from diverse backgrounds who have a shared identity, who have a shared or common interest, and are actually working together to the attainment of that objective. So you find out in history, we found so many people who have been scattered without a landmass to call their own, yet still they remain a nation, but they might not have a country. A typical example would be with the Israelis. So there was a Jewish nation before they received the country, the landmass, and then had a space, a territorial space to become, to have a country. But then they already existed as a nation, even though they didn't have the land space. So we have to get that differentiation very, very, very clearly. So someone may be asking, what about Ghana today? Is it a nation or a country? Prior to the 1957, 6th of March 1957 Independence March, we found leadership going around the country to organize the people together to build a nation. So initially, we didn't exist as a nation. It was a country where there were different people from diverse backgrounds, different ideologies, different religions, and all of those. But we existed within a certain territorial space that made us a country. But there was an attempt to go around to galvanize all the support towards a certain mission or objective. And that objective actually came out to become, or out of it produced, a national identity. So you realize on the 6th of March 1957, we finally became a nation. We moved from just having that territorial space of being a country to becoming a nation, all right? So there are certain key processes that go into building a nation. You might have the territorial space, but again, if those characteristics are missing, which is a shared identity or purpose of the people, then you cannot speak of having a nation. And we have to get this differentiation very clearly. There are certain theories of development that go into nation building, and there are three I'd like to mention or share with us today. The first of which would be the rational choice institutionalism, which has to do with the strategic calculations of the ruling elite. I'll break them down as we go, but let me just list them quickly. So the first one is the rational choice institutionalism, which I said has to do with the strategic calculations of the political elite. The second is the modernization theory, and this has to do with economic and social development and how it increases with our consolidated democracy. The third would be institutional capacity, and this will have to be the institutions of governance that lead to create security and stability. And this is one of the things that the former president of America, Obama, mentioned when he came to Ghana. He says we need strong institutions. He was referring to the concept of institutional capacity in nation building, in that if you have strong institutions, then you can build a nation. But for today's discussion, I'd like us to
I think we had kind of a
theory.
He's back. Yeah, you're back. You said for this.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So for today's discussion, So for today's discussion, I'd like to dwell on the modernization theory, and this contends that you need technological change, and this will lead to a high factor of input or high productivity. And from a high productivity rate, that's when that leads to social change, and then you have economic growth. And it's from these factors that you have political transformation and democratization of a nation. So let's run through again. There are several steps within the modernization theory. The first of which is technological change and high factor of input, that is productivity, high productivity. And then you go to social change, which comes with economic growth.
I think we have lost a comrade again. Let's still get waiting. I'll see he will be coming back again. Yes, we are talking about a Russia institutionalism, modernization theory, and then infrastructure capacity. So it's a very good point. Fighter, you can come on again. Please take us back again. Yeah, we are not getting you. Yeah, you are on.
Yes. Oh, so sorry for the break. Yes.
Don't worry.
The third thing I mentioned, just a correction, it's actually institutional capacity.
Okay, capacity. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So so let's deal with technological.
Oh, I think we're having some kind of little breakup, but we'll make it up. Yes, you are back again.
Hello?
Yeah, you are back again. You're back. Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay. All right. So let's deal with technological change.
Mm. Yes, we are with you.
You can hear.
Yeah, I can hear you. We can hear you clearly.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So with technology. Okay. Okay. So with technological change, you have urbanization. That's with the advancements in technological use, you find out that to start building urban centers, which are
Okay.
high economic centers where people start migrating towards. And with the advancement of technology begins to increase, because when science and technology becomes available, or there's easy access to science and technology, the literacy rate of the people begin to rise. And then with that, you find out that it creates an industrialization drive, because again, if there's access to technology, and it's developing and evolving at a fast rate, you find out that people start, or industrialization starts to develop. Yes.
Yeah.
And now with these three key things happening, you move to the next phase, which is social change and economic growth. Now you find out that with the creation of industries and all of these, yes, you start creating social mobilization, which is the groupings of social classes begin to emerge. You find out that people start. Comrade, you could prompt me if I am still with you.
Yeah,
I think the internet connection is a little bad.
We are hearing you. We are hearing you clearly.
Okay. All right. Yes. So now, after those three things are in place, yes, after those three things are in place, which is the urbanization, high literacy rate, and then leading to industrialization, you find out that social classes begin to develop within the nation that we're building, right? And this is not really antagonistic in the beginning, because they all have their roles to play. So then everyone finds his place within that grouping. But with social mobilization comes attitudinal change. Now, this is proven that when the livelihood or the living conditions of the people begins to improve or get better, you have attitudinal changes, right? So then one of the key factors you notice is that crime actually reduces. Because as we have said in the economics fantasy, we've said that crime is actually a product of inequality and social injustice. So when the living standards of the people begin to improve or rise up, you find out that there's attitudinal change within the group of people. One other characteristic of this is that you find out that we have a larger middle class which becomes more tolerant, and that is another key thing which I tried to mention earlier, that with the creation of social classes is not necessarily antagonistic in the beginning, because the middle class that is developing becomes very tolerant, right?
Yeah.
And then another characteristic with that too is that you find out there's more political engagement from the people. Yes, they're able to express themselves more, because now they've reached a certain new and their realities have become much improved and better. Mind you, we mentioned the high literacy rate and the increase in living standards. So you see, it changes the concept of the perceptions of people, and the people automatically become better. The final stage of that process with the modernization theory is that we move to political transformation and democratization. So you realize that after we've seen a high literacy rate, we've seen a growth or an increase and improvement in industrialization. It leads to social mobilization, which is the creation of social classes. And we find attitudinal behaviors begin to improve. We find the people becoming better citizens or better human beings, if it may. You find out that the middle class that is being created becomes more tolerant. And from that, there's more political engagement, and the people begin to express themselves more. They can contribute better to the nation building process. Now, after this, you find out that there's a political transformation in that the people can now draw a long period or a long-term developmental program to see in Ghana for a very long time. We've had people try to come up with 10-year development plans, 40-year development plans. In fact, right now we are even moving and try.
I think this conversation has been a very, very, very interesting conversation. As you can see, we are getting a very, very intensive in this kind of conversation. This is how we can find a way to build our nation. You know, when building a nation, that doesn't mean only your country of origin. That doesn't mean that where you were born is the only place you are supposed to, think of building. Looking at what Comrade Nii Aryee is still having a problem with the network. He said what the point that we are now tackling is a racial choice institution structure, the structure of the racial choice institution. And then he said what modernization theory, that's the way we modernize ourselves into when everything is put in order, and then institutional capacity. So I think this is a very good point that we were waiting for. Our comrade, our brother Nii Aryee to come and then elaborate on it, because for us to build a nation, we have seen what is going on right now, not forgetting what is going on right now in the parliament of a Pan-African parliament. So we have a lot of questions to ask also on this one too. So if you are listening to us over here clearly, if you can watch from here, please kindly, what you have to do is kindly share the video. Please share out the video, as we are trying to bring up a sensitive and then educative information and how we can all build a nation as Africans, as is very important. Building a nation as an African is one of the key points that we have always trying to be touching. So we have a lot of problems, even looking at African migrants being mass moving to Europe, trying to find a deliberate. So why can't we build our own nation? Why can't we build our own countries? Why can't we build our own infrastructure for us to live comfortable and move comfortable to wherever? So that's why we have Comrade Nii Aryee over here is back again. So sorry for the breakup of the line. I think you had a little network problem. So I think he has gone back again, but he'll be back. I think it's on it. So these are kind of things. Yeah, Comrade, you are here. You are here.
Comrade.
Yeah. You are on. You are on. We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. All right. So I've gotten to the political transformation stage. All right.
Yeah, you have gone to the political transformation stage. That's where you are.
Yes, okay. All right. So yes. So when you find the people's you find out that it gets to a point where there's more participation in the political space, right? The people begin to contribute towards nation building by participating more in the political sphere, and with that, now we are able to draw a long-term plan for national development, right? And this is only done when the people are actively involved in the governance process, and you find out that with this. Quickly, most people believe, or most people feel, with certain more democratic economic systems, right? They think there's going to be a seizure of the wealth they've accumulated for themselves, and you see, social justice, like we're trying to promote, or some people call it socialism. I don't like to deal with those name tags because they lead into arguments. But let's say more democratic economic systems, right? Some people think with this in place is going to deprive them or take away their accumulated wealth, and that is not the case. You see, it is not a pro-poverty campaign we are leading. No, we're saying rather than just a few people have access to all the wealth and the means of wealth creation and distribution, we're saying that it has to be equitable for everybody. We have to have it evenly spread out. It does not mean that we're going to seize what you have. No, we're just saying that we want to redistribute most of it, so it is not concentrated in the hands of the few. We want to have it evenly or democratically dispersed. All right. So rather than have 1 billionaire we're saying you can have several millionaires, right? Rather than just one billionaire who has $1 billion or a billion of whatever currency. So rather than be a billionaire, that's 1,000. Wouldn't it be fair if you had 1,000 millionaires rather than have one billionaire? I mean, it's more equitable that way, right? And with this, we're saying we're not going to seize and then give to someone else. That's not redistribution. That is I can't even find the right term for that. But redistribution will be that we create avenues or systems where there's revenue generation, and from that we are able to distribute most of the wealth that is generated evenly. All right. So if you're beginning and you have 1,000 units of whatever it is, we're saying that rather than hold on to the 1,000 or the way other people might benefit from, let us reinvest that 1,000 and then roll it over so we can generate more profits. And the profits can be evenly distributed to everybody. So what you have will not be taken from you. It's actually just going to be reinvested, and you know, we're going to increase the revenue generation stream so we can have enough to go around. All right. So that's a little bit with the wealth redistribution. And you find out that with these systems in place, there will be mitigated class struggles. Because naturally, as we begin to develop into social classes, of course, it's not an ideal system. So you're definitely going to have clashes of interest and all of those. But with such an equitable system and just system, you find out that all of these clashes are actually mitigated. It doesn't escalate into what many people are afraid of. Institutional capacity, I wouldn't like to dwell so much on that one, because what we need right now in our current system would be the modernization theory, or to go by the modernization theory. And just to recap, that is actually changing our technological advancement, engaging in more technical modules that would increase our productivity. And with that, you have social changes, which I mentioned, behavioral changes from people having rising living standards, and then that will lead to economic growth from the economic activity that will be generated from industry. And then from that, we can have a complete political transformation and democratization of our system.
So is it like an industrialization?
In considering nation building. Yes, these are the fundamental principles that we need to have on the base.
So I was trying to ask, is it like when we talk about modernization theory, is it going to be like industrialization? Can you hear me? Maybe we are learning to see.
Hello?
I said the modernization, is it?
Could you repeat the question, Kwame? I couldn't hear you.
Yeah. I want to say the modernization theory, is it that we're going to put it like also industrialization? Is it something like that for us? Okay, I think right. That's a very good choice. So we just finished with the first part of the. He said the Russia choice institutionalism. I'm not good in English, by the way. I'm trying my best. So in this case, looking at what he just said, that means that somebody having a lot of money and more of us having that kind of balance of wealth and everything can be helpful for us to be able to develop our nation, to build our nation. So that's a very good point that we think. Yeah, I think is here. Yeah, comrade, you are back. Can you hear me? Yeah. And I'm trying to ask and say, is it like, oh, I think his back is off again.
Hello?
Yeah, are you there?
Yeah, I'm back. Sorry for the connection. I'm having a little trouble with my internet connection today. I really don't know why.
No problem. So what I'm trying to say again is that, is it also, are we going to say something like the modernization theory is like urbanization, something like that, industrialization? Sorry.
Wow.
Yeah, can you get me?
Hello?
Do you get me right now?
Comrade.
Yeah. Do you get me right now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. But when you start asking, when you're asking the question, it was breaking, so I didn't really get it.
Okay. My question is that do you think the modernization theory is tantamount, is same as industrialization? That's what I'm asking. Okay.
Hello?
Okay. I think we have problem with the network. Some you go on.
Okay. But I like to bring this down to home, so we can actually have a better appreciation of what we're talking about.
Okay.
So can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We can hear you.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. We can hear you. I can hear you clearly.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm saying I like to bring the conversation back home. Let's be specific with our conditions here in Ghana. And well, dealing with nation building, yeah, we've mentioned from what we've discussed so far that the modernization theory is actually the best module for building a nation, and that has a very strong focus on economic development. That is really key. But with economic development, there are actually two parts of it, right? And we have to look at how we engage in this. So in the national economy, we can divide it into two categories. One will be the productive economy and the non-productive economy. All right. This is one we have to get really clear, so we don't mix them up and then end up confused. So we have the productive economy and the non-productive economy. All right. Yes. Now with the productive economy, that deals with the avenues of wealth generation or with production, right? And these are in two fields, which is in industry and agriculture. These are the two productive sectors or industries or categories of the economy. The non-productive economy would deal with every other aspect, from roads to infrastructure and all of those. Those are non-productive. And if you give me a little time, I'll explain why they are non-productive. You realize that with road creation or road development, or infrastructure development, you're actually spending, not necessarily generating or creating wealth. It's actually an expenditure. All right. So if you engage in those aspects without focusing on the productive sectors, that is where you get to a position of having increasing debt ratios to GDP, because you actually find yourself borrowing more monies to engage in those sectors. And again, they are non-productive sectors, which means they do not generate wealth by themselves. Now, what we should be focusing on right now is on the productive sectors of the economy, which will have to do with industry and agriculture. Unfortunately, the reality we are dealt with in Ghana is that we focus more on the extractive industry, which is mining. And the reason that does not accrue to our benefits is because we do not actually own all of those resources that we are mining. Ghana today is the number one producer of gold on the African continent. We only accrue to our benefit 1.71% of our gold revenue. And that does attention on that extractive industry, which is the mining of gold, then you realize that we'll be lacking behind. We won't be getting the full benefits which we're supposed to. All right. So let's just get those two in check. Another thing too is with the oil, which comes under the extractive or the mining sector. We are actually producing oil in commercial quantities, but again, we do not have any significant control or share of that resource. So it does not, again, inure to our benefit. And that too is another key factor we should mark. Going forward, our our best bet is in agriculture. And if you look at the history of every developed economy you can look at, especially in Europe and particularly Britain, under their industrialization drive, you realize that one of the things that they focused on was agriculture, agri products, and agri industry. That is the basis of every economy. So what we should be focusing on here is actually to improve agriculture by industrializing or improving the technology involved in agriculture, right? And with this, you produce the raw materials, which will become the base or the basis for building industry. So industry will definitely would actually go into the processing of those raw materials into finished goods, and that's how we build on. Now, even with industry, with the production of or manufacturing of goods and services, you find out that it's in several stages. You start from production of the raw materials, which is the basic commodities that we produce agriculturally, and then you go into little or small scale industry, which is normal small scale processing, right? So those factories we find in the street corners and all of those come under those small factories or small scale industry. Then we go to the medium scale that will have to go into much more technologically advanced processes, like the production of fertilizer and all of those things. These actually go to improve the basis of agriculture. So you'll be increasing your productivity in the agriculture sector, and it's producing raw materials that can go into industry. All right. Now, the first stage from that will have to go into heavy industry or big scale or large scale industry, which is where you find more technologically advanced processes. So you find your big plants for manufacturing of big machines, of cars, those big industries. Now, you cannot start from the beginning and seek to jump to heavy industry. That is a recipe for disaster. You get it? And it has to be a concerted effort. So you go from your agricultural base to the production of raw materials, simple raw materials and all that. Then you go to small scale processing and industry, right? Now, building on that, you get into medium scale and then finally into large scale. But one challenge with that is that if you do not have sustained or sustainable energy generation capacity, your industry is actually going to fail. Yes. So I'm assuming that we've actually been able to industrialize our agriculture. That is not rocket science. The technology today is abundant and it's not as expensive as it used to be before. So we can actually afford it. So I'm assuming that we've taken care of our agricultural base. All right. But now the industrialization drive is where we have to pay close attention to. Now, our current administration, right, came up with a brilliant strategy for industrialization, and they called it the One District, One Factory, right? Yeah. And it's actually a beautiful policy towards economic development. But the problem with this was that it was not properly thought through. I think that there was a little rush to push it through just for political expediency. So certain fundamental things were overlooked. And I'd like us to go through those processes, all right? So the first thing with any industrialization drive, like I've said before, is to make sure that you have a sustainable energy generation capacity. That's the first thing you have to look at. People might say, oh, but we have enough generation capacity about. Now, it's one thing having excess generation capacity, and there's another thing having sustainable energy generation capacity. These are two very different concepts. You can have energy generation, a large or more than enough energy generation capacity, but if it is not sustainable, then it would actually be just as non-existent. All right. So yes, Ghana has very high generation capacity of energy, but the problem with that is that most of it is run on light crude oil, which is quite expensive. All right. So you find out that when we're not able to meet the payments from Nigeria will actually shut down their pipelines, and it means all of those plants will not be able to receive the light crude that they need to be powered by. So yes, we have the machines there, but they realize that we're not able to generate the energy that we need. All right. So again, the first thing we need to get in check is to have a sustainable energy generation capacity. All right. Now, the next thing we have to go into is the is the skilled labor. All right. Now you can build all the factories you want, but if you do not have skilled workers or skilled labor to run those factories, you're going to run serious losses, and in fact, it's going to crash. Okay, so as you're preparing with your energy generation capacity, renewable and sustainable energy generation capacity, you'll be looking at your educational system. Now, educational system is supposed to be churning out skilled labor, and this will come through technological or technical and vocational skills training on a very large scale. All right. So you find out that these two fields are actually interconnected, industry and education, because education is where you're going to have your labor force being trained. All right. Now the third thing from labor and so we spoke labor force, and then now you can look at infrastructure. Okay, so you cannot jump these two factors and come straight to infrastructure. Now, how do I mean? Let's take our roads, for instance. I've said this time and time again on several platforms that roads are supposed to pay for themselves, or are supposed to pay themselves off within the shortest possible time. How do I mean? If you should spend 2 million Ghana cedis on building a road, yes, that road is supposed to pay back that 2 million cedis that was used on it in the shortest possible time. And yes, one way of recouping that cost is through collecting road tolls, but that's actually a lazy approach. And that seems to be the norm right now. But you see, it's not efficient. Road tolls, yes, road tolls actually go to burden the people with taxes and all of that, and it's not the best. All right. What we should be gaining or we should be actually looking at is I'll give a typical example with the cocoa roads. Okay, so the cocoa roads were actually built with funds from the cocoa industry, right, to connect the cocoa farms to the ports for export. All right. So, for instance, if we sell cocoa today and we make, let's say, 50 million out of the sale for cocoa, some of those monies are committed to building roads that would facilitate the movement of cocoa from the farms to the export points. All right. Now, with this, you realize that the roads are actually serving a purpose of speeding up that transfer. So you're increasing the revenue generation in that industry, all right? And that's how roads actually play into the economy or the economic productivity process. You get it? So within the shortest possible time, that road will actually pay itself off by the speedy transaction of that cocoa. Now, what we see right now is we're building so many roads today, but it is not connecting industry and people. That is the problem we're having today. And that's why we continuously have to borrow monies to build these roads or these other infrastructure that we've been touting as economic development projects. But we don't see the real impact in the economy because you're missing that connection point. We're not connecting industry to the ports or the export point. That there's no connection in between there. It's almost as if you're building the roads
some of the industries
and comfort. Exactly, we're not doing that. So if you're building roads just for comfort, to ride around comfortably and all of that, you realize that you would have to go and borrow more money to come and build other roads. But if the roads we're building were actually connecting industry and people, you realize that it promotes the generation of revenue internally. And that is how the economy grows. And from that, we're able to build other infrastructure and all of those things. So this is some of the connections that we've missed. So with the one district, one factory, if we could look back at that policy and address the energy generation, capacity in there, make them sustainable energy, and sustainable energy generation. And then we look at the training or educational system for training skilled labor. And then we map this up with effective infrastructure, which would be the road networks and those other things. All right. Hello. Yes, this is how we're supposed to play.
I can hear
together, and then marry them. Yes. Hello.
So okay, that's good. So, for example, we're talking about these companies, infrastructures around in Ghana as a country that we are talking about right now. Are we ready really to do this kind of logistically way for us not to stop borrowing money from outside?
If I heard you correctly, you're asking if we're ready to stop borrowing money from outside with our current economic structure.
Situation. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly.
Unfortunately, it doesn't look promising because in fact the World Bank has come out.
Oh. Okay, I think
owing too much and it's not sustainable. Our debt is so heavy it could crush our economy. Hello?
Yeah, take me back. You were saying you said the World Bank and then you went out.
Hello?
You said the World Bank and then you were out. So take that one again. Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
But is it better now?
Yes, it's good.
Can you hear me now? Okay, all right. So yeah, I was saying, our current debt to.
Well, I think we haven't. This is a point where the thing becomes more interested. I think. Please kindly, brothers and sisters, share the video. Okay, Mr. Nii Aryee, come on, go on.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I was saying our current debt to GDP ratio is above 76%, and the World Bank has come out to caution us that that is not sustainable, in that it's reached certain points where it could actually crush our economy, and the statistics are very interesting because it says currently we spend about 47% of our internally generated revenue on paying back loans which we've borrowed. So even before we're able to mobilize funds locally, about half of it is already going to pay debt. So it's not enough to sustain our local economy. So you find out that we always have the need to go and borrow to come in and spend some more. And the reason this phenomenon is persistent is because when we always borrow money, we do not focus on the productive sector of the economy. And I cannot emphasize this enough. If you do not spend all the monies you have, your resources on the productive sector of the economy, you're not going to be able to generate revenue to be able to sustain your other internal expenditure. It's not possible. And I don't know which economic module people are looking at, but it seems absurd sometimes to even imagine what is going on today. You go and take monies and come and spend in the non-productive economy or sector. Now that money will not be able to generate any revenue locally. So then you realize that you end up needing more money to carry out your normal day-to-day activities, and then you run and go and borrow some money. At a point, you should sit down and ask yourself, for how long can I keep borrowing? You get it? And even at a certain point in time, your lenders are actually going to take the piss. Because you can't keep coming to borrow money from me. What happens when I am out of money? And it's scary because the COVID period that's last year exposed how unsustainable this trend is. Because when Europe, which was the hardest hit region in this pandemic, when they were dealing with the pandemic, just like everyone else was dealing with it, we actually had to run to them to borrow money. So realize that even to feed our people here, we were looking at getting money from foreign countries to be able to feed our people. Now, what happens when we get to a point where these countries can't give out any money? What happens to our people then? You see? So the COVID period exposed all of these flaws in our system, and we're expecting that we would have gone back to the drawing board or to our policy drawing boards and then try to come up with policies that will actually get us out of this mess, get us out of a high dependency on other countries to a position where we'll be more sufficient internally. And that seems to be lacking. So as to whether we can get out of this mess currently, it's not possible. until we restructure our focus on productive, on a productive economy where we can generate internal wealth, and then we can use that for other economic benefits. But if you're going to continue spending all these monies on a non-productive sector, nothing's going to change. And the non-productive sector, I was trying to give you a list of what this includes. You find the non-productive sector includes, if you give me a minute, expenditure on education, on healthcare, housing, all of those things come, infrastructure I've mentioned already, all these things come under non-productive expenditure. Because you see, like I said before, there's no generation of wealth within that sector alone. But those are supposed to actually facilitate the productive sector. So like the infrastructure being the road is actually going to go to connect industries and people. And that's how you generate wealth. If you're having infrastructure like the railway service or the railway lines, that's actually going to connect industries and people. So it facilitates the movement of goods and services. And that's how you generate wealth. So all our expenditure, capital expenditure, has to be in the productive sector. And that's how we can generate the revenue we need to take care of the other things. Yes.
That's great.
I think you're asking a question
Yes, I was then asking question on the sorry, I was then asking question if we are really ready, like how you said, you have already even answered it. You said the way in the COVID time, we got to realize that while Europeans are struggling for them to feed themselves, to get antidotes, to get the vaccine for themselves, we went around searching for money from them. So should it be like a time that comes that, okay, here it comes, the Europeans even come, not even do it. So how is this all borrowing? So how can we, so do you think this current government that we have are really ready to take us out and then build a nation as you give the structure right now?
A quick correction. They are not the government. And you see, this is how our diction, our language, the words we use actually get us into a lot of trouble. And you see, the confusion we're having today is that we refer to those people as the government, but they're not the government. The people are the government. Those people in those offices are representatives of the government. So they are government representatives. They are not the government. Yes. I see, we refer to them as government. So he has put them in a certain position of power where they feel like they are the government, but they're not. They are government representatives.
Yes.
So we elect them to represent us because we are the government, we as the sovereigns. Yes. So
this is really a great saying. This is really a great saying. So
yes,
those representing us. Yes, I think those representing us actually. How can we? Because looking at what is happening now in Ghana as we are talking right now, how can we let them know that this is what we want?
This internet's a mess.
I think it is a fantasy. So it is a fantasy. So you take it. Come down. When I talk, you have to wait for a time to maybe to hear it all.
I lost you for a bit.
Yeah, I was asking, how can we know that how can we hold them responsible to be able for them to do what is necessary and what is necessary for the nation and for us as the governing people?
All right. So that is a very loaded question, and Conrad, your questions alone can stretch this program to like a whole day because that's a very loaded question. Yes, that's a loaded one. But let me try and see if I can break it down a little bit. So for all of these things to change, we'd have to have a political transformation in the country. But for that to happen, we'll have to have leaders who are willing to actually embark on that exercise. The leaders are supposed to be willing to do this. It's all about leadership, right? So all of our problems can actually disappear or begin to disappear tomorrow if leadership decides that we're going to make this happen. I'll give a typical example. Singapore was lagging behind Ghana at the time Ghana gained independence. I think Singapore got it a little later than we did. But look at Singapore today. It's actually a first world country, considered the first world country today, right? And that was all because of very good leadership. Well, it might have been strict and not so friendly at the time. Now, we've seen in most Asian countries, especially China. China was worse off than Ghana. At the time Ghana gained independence, China was still struggling to figure out what to do next. But today, I don't think we can even compare ourselves to China. China is well ahead. Now a global leader in technology, in industry. I mean, you name it. So you see, it all comes down to leadership, right? So again, if we're going to see any meaningful change, it has to come down to leadership. But for that to even happen, like the constitutional
Please kindly share this video. Sorry for my muting of my microphone. Please kindly share this video because it's a very great, submission. We have almost about 33 minutes for us to go. So please kindly share this video. This is a very great submission because looking at things, people will be crying, fix your attitude. This has been always been going on day by day. We haven't seen people talking about fix your attitude, fix your attitude. But here it comes. When those the leaders, as we say, those that will put them to governance and to do the government work that are supposed to serve us are not doing the right thing, how can it? So we come to that point too. Come on, you are welcome back. Sorry.
Hello?
You're welcome. It's the first for you.
Yeah, okay, I'm back on. Yeah, all right. So yes, to change this. So before we can see any meaningful change, we have to see economic development. And you see, that is why our group is called the Economic Fighters League. Because you see, all of these things that we're talking about can only be changed when you see an improvement in the economic circumstance of the people. How do I mean? If we can go back quickly to what I was talking about with the modernization theory. You see, after the technological advance, the advancement in technology and all of those things, one of the key points we arrive at is the behavioral change, right? And you only see behavioral change when the living standards of the people begin to increase. That's the only time behaviors begin to change. So today we're talking about people being corrupt in Ghana and all of those. You see, corruption as it stands is a product of inequality as well. So you have a civil servant who is taking home some salary, a decent, well, what's supposed to be decent, okay? But his salary is not reviewed upwards, but then almost every 3 or 6 months, you have the cost of living going high. So it gets to a point where your salary that you're taking becomes inadequate to sustain your life, all right? And because of that, you have to make ends meet. So you start thinking of creative, even though they're criminal, but you start thinking of creative ways of making some quick money on the side, you see? And that's how crime begins. So whenever you address the economic or the living conditions of people, you actually see a whole lot of change. It starts a chain reaction of transformation, and it cuts across all sectors. So when we are fighting for we're fighting for economic freedom. This is exactly what we are pushing for. That when you raise the living conditions of people, or you make people's living conditions better, some of these things that we're dealing with will disappear nearly overnight. All right. Now let's deal with crime again. You have crime going high again because of the inequality that exists in our society. So you have, with the greatest of respect, just for this conversation's purpose, I'd like to make reference to our inner cities, what we've come to call our zongos. All right. Now, it seems almost all the crime you can think about is out of the zongos. And if you're thinking, if you're going to mention some of the criminals we know, you find them living in the zongos or the slums, the inner cities, as like they call them. Now, the reason is because these people are locked in a certain economic reality or circumstance, and they see their colleagues on the other side of the street having the niceties or the luxuries of life. All right. Now, here's someone who wakes up in the morning and he's not assured of having his daily sustenance or what to eat, right? But he sees his colleague buying 2-3 cars, throwing parties, living lavish and all of that. You see, now he begins to strategize on how he can actually benefit or get those things for himself, and that is the genesis of the beginning of crime. All right, it's because of that inequality gap. And if you remember our early chemistry classes, something like diffusion, you realize when there's a concentration of whatever it is in one side and there's a lack in another side, it has to naturally begin to flow. And whatever catalyst is involved there, that is up to whatever. So yes, our people in the inner cities begin to develop the criminal tendencies just because of the inequalities that exist. How do we fix this? We're looking at creating economic opportunities for those people. So Razmamba, you'll agree with me that those so-called criminals, if they had access to jobs, right, or economic opportunities where they can earn a living, I mean, there's no point for him to actually engage in any criminal activity because he's getting what he needs.
For sure.
Get it. And you find out crime comes out of desperation. So when he gets to the point where he says, no, I mean, I must survive at all costs, that's when he engages in those criminal activities. So I would have loved that rather than retool or re-equip the police with sophisticated, very expensive equipment, all of those monies could actually be churned out into economic opportunities for those same target people, which are the so-called criminals, and that could actually see their life become better. Now, if we go into our prison service, right? Our prison system, you find out that some of the rehabilitation exercises or programs that are geared towards our criminals is supposed to give them better living conditions, and that's to give them skills that will give them economic opportunities. So you see, somehow this concept is actually recognized in that system. And let me give you a typical example here. With countries like Finland and Norway, you find out that their prisons are actually being shut down. And they are shut down because people are not engaging in crime. So there's actually nobody going to jail or going to prison. So they're actually closing down their prison yards. You get it? Now, what is the concept at play here? The concept is that if you have better living standards and that your basic necessities for life are guaranteed and assured, you will not have to deal with some of these criminal tendencies. And that fixes the problem. So that is our mandate. That is what we are fighting for. We say, give the people economic freedom, raise the living standards of the people, and most of these problems that we're dealing with would go away. But then again, it comes to the number one issue here. If we do not have committed leadership to implement all of these things we're talking about, it will be chasing our own tails. Nothing is actually going to change.
So, for example, I want to take this one. I want to take you to this one. I think you get me wrong. You get me very low. Looking at the situation, people are still advocating that fix your attitude. Is it right to say fix your attitude, or we have to advocate on fix the country?
All right. This is a very interesting one. So when we came out and we're talking about fix the country, right? They came with a reply or a rebuttal and said we should fix our attitudes. You know, everything comes from the top. And for people who joined the campaign and saying fix yourselves, let me take you through this simple scenario. Remember, you remember when this so-called pandemic started, right? Some Say again.
We got it bigger in Italy over here. I mean,
Yeah, yes. You know, some of the things the precautionary measures that came out was that we had to follow certain protocols, right? And one of which was supposed to wear a face mask every time, right? They're saying you're supposed to wash your hands and all of that. But let me focus on the wearing of the face mask. You know, it was very problematic to get the people to actually comply to wearing the face mask, right? But when government came out and gave a directive that it was mandatory for everybody to wear their mask, almost immediately it went into enforcement. Everybody changed their attitude and they started wearing the mask. We saw that happening, right?
exactly.
Yes. So you realize that government has that ability, that privileged ability to be able to initiate mass change. Okay. And if let me take you back to a previous administration under Kufuor's administration, the late president Alhaji Ali Muhammad, bless his soul, he initiated a campaign against indiscipline, right? And we saw. I'm sure people remember the campaign. What Bodam Ahana Obejun so, you know that skit,
Yes.
that commercial. It was a very effective campaign in that in a very short possible time we saw a change in the behavior of people within that space. Right now, all of this is me saying that we need leadership to be able to drive people's or to adjust people's behavior, and this is seen worldwide. People's behavior in the citizenry is always can be affected within the shortest possible time by government initiative. So when we are saying the ability to change the perception or the behavior patterns of the people within the shortest possible time, you have the medium to do that. So this is what you should do. So if they reply and say we should fix our attitudes, which is an admission that the citizens need a behavioral or attitudinal change, then we are saying they have the ability to initiate that change. So then it comes back to them.
Exactly.
If we say we should fix our attitudes because we have bad attitudes, you are the leaders and you are supposed to have the means of initiating that process of change. So then again, it goes back to them. They have the power to change the behavior or the attitude of the people, so they should do their job. It's just that simple.
Thank you. So looking at your right hand side or left hand side, you see this video that I'm showing you right now. Let's look at this video and see how possible are people going to fix their attitude if the area is like this. Let's listen to this board.
Ba dole ne shi kowa ya zo ya tsaya yayi magana irin haka ba, amma ka samu masu magana amma for Mr. Ramo, sorry yo, me ba ha me kasuwa mu anya da ya fo
is the sound of the video
because na me on the side.
Pardon?
Come on, I was hearing some voices. Is that coming from the video?
Yes, exactly, from the video.
Oh, okay, right, that's fine. This has to do with waste and sanitation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do we fix it?
Exactly.
How do we fix the waste management system in Ghana? And it's quite interesting that you asked this because it's something that I'm engaged in. In 2016, I signed on to. In 2016, late 2016, early 2017, I signed on to the One District One program, One District One Factory program, and I tried to initiate a waste to energy process in Ghana, to establish a waste to energy project here in Ghana, where we'll be converting our waste, municipal waste, into electricity. I'm facing most of the challenges other entrepreneurs face. You know, trying to do business here in Ghana is quite a struggle. So, well, we're still in the process. But yes, how do we fix this problem? Then again, we say it is leadership. Because now, remember, if you go to the marketplaces, right, or you go into our communities, you find we have certain waste collection spots, right? Places where they have these huge bins where people come to put their waste into those containers, right? Even along our streets, we find certain, waste bins and all those put advantage points. Now, if you've been observant of these things I'm talking about, you realize that the waste can actually stay in those buckets for a very long time and is uncollected. And it gets so full that it spills over into the streets and the surroundings. Right? Now, this creates a particular problem where people would be reluctant to actually go and dump the waste there any longer. Right? Even in our homes, we're supposed to have waste garbage trucks come to collect the waste periodically. But there are certain times when you could go for months and the truck doesn't come around. So you see, your disposal of the waste becomes a problem. And in fact, it's such a problem in 2016 that made me start the initiative in doing something for the waste. So you see, you can't blame the people squarely for the littering they are doing right now. It's not squarely on their shoulders. Because even if they send the waste to this central collection point, they're not taking from those places. You get it? So now the people are left with, other ways of dealing with the trash. So find drainage somewhere, or find some corner somewhere and then go and dump the waste. That's why we're seeing most of these things happening. To fix this again is leadership. If leadership made sure that we had a national waste collection and management program, then we can start holding people accountable. That if we provide the avenue for proper waste management and you bypass these structures and engage in indiscriminate littering and waste disposal in the communities, then we can take you on. Then the law can be seen to do its work. And we can take a cue from the developed economies. A system like in Europe, where you are, you will never find someone dropping anything littering around in public, because you'll be fine on the spot. And the reason is because they provided vantage points for the disposal of that waste, and there's periodic and constant disposal or management of those waste collection sites. You get it? So you don't find your garbage can on the corner of the street spilling out with garbage and all that. You don't find that happening. You see, and then this comes back to leadership. So we have an effective leadership system in place where you are. And they are able to ensure that all of these systems and processes are running effectively. There's timely collection of the waste in those areas. There's proper disposal of those waste after they are collected. They promote certain green and sustainable waste management, like recycling and reuse of plastics and all that. So you see, there's an effective leadership program for these things to be handled. But here in our part of the world, especially in Ghana, we don't have this existent. These things are non-existent. So you find people having to make do with some of these things. I see places of convenience, public places of convenience, what we call public toilets. Now, with this, you go to certain communities. The one that is playing in the video right now, this is not fit for human use. You get it? And to play the devil's advocate, rather than use a structure like this, which is actually a death trap, someone will feel more comfortable when he goes to the seaside. You see, he's getting some cool breeze and all that, so he feels much comfortable going into the open to do his business. But if we had proper places of convenience, right, we had them very decent and being managed very well, then you can take people on who go into the places to engage in those acts of open defecation and all of those things. So it all comes down to leadership. Every aspect of national life has to be directed or initiated by leadership. That's if it's a change that we're looking on, investigation on a mass scale, it is government that has the ability to initiate those change factors. So yes, this what we're seeing right now is testament, is evidence that there's a breakdown in leadership.
Exactly. So you have seen this kind of things. Some people will be saying, as we are discussing, some people will say that, why can't we do community labor? They used to call community labor. For me, I ask the question, how long can we be doing community labor? Because you said that there should be a constant people that are fixed to fix those kind of situations. So how can people are talking about community labor like we have to do community labor to clean up our areas? Is that a solution?
Then again, you see, we've seen several cleanup exercises going on in this country. Most holidays come up with cleanup exercise. Sometimes people in their communities will get together and then try to organize some cleanup exercises, distilling gutters and all of those. But then again, if you've noticed, as soon as we dig out the drainages and we put the contents on the side of the road, there's no collection of those materials. So with the slightest rain that comes in, most of those things are washed back into the gutters. Right now, people clean up the communities, they clear up the garbage around and everything. But then again, there's no proper management of the garbage that has been collected. So the disposal becomes a problem. So you see, community labor is good. It's a good exercise. But then again, if it is not coordinated into a process of efficient management systems, then it becomes an exercise in futility. In that we will continue cleaning, but then the place will keep getting dirty, right? So I am saying we should have leadership pay attention to proper management systems where we can have sustainable waste disposal methods or systems, and then these things can actually begin to disappear, because now we can enforce the laws that speak against people littering and then engaging in open defecation and all of these things. Those can be taken care of when we provide an avenue or a process or a system where it can address these concerns directly. But that will have to come back to leadership. It's still leadership.
So now, looking at the kids literally in this kind of condition. Look, we have the animals eating in the same condition. We have the kids littering around. So what is keeping us as citizens of a country to demand the system to change to our demands?
You see, the interesting thing here is if we had proper leadership, we, the citizenry, will not even have to be making these concerns known. It's something that will be known.
Exactly.
One thing about leadership is information gathering, right? And they came up with an exercise where they claim they're going to count the people, population consensus, right? Now, this is government trying to ascertain the number of people who live in the country. So if that is an exercise you are concerned about, why are you not concerned about the living conditions of the people you're going to count? Is it just about counting the people for counting's sake? Why are you not concerned about the living conditions of the people you're going to count? You see, again, it comes down to leadership. So if we pay attention, and you see, that's why some policies that the government has proposed or is touting out there, it makes it very difficult for some of us to actually support or to agree with that. Imagine you're talking about providing a national health insurance scheme, right? That's supposed to cover medical expenses for the citizens. Now, if you have the people living in such conditions where diseases are going to be very commonplace, right? Don't you think it's going to be an overburden on that insurance scheme? Because if the living conditions are deplorable, as we're seeing in your video, it's going to there's going to be an increase or a prevalence of disease outbreak, right? And this is going to actually overwhelm or overburden the national health insurance scheme. So any proper, efficient leadership, right, that is considering providing health care for the people, will actually look at preventive measures rather than curative measures. All right. So rather than spend so much money to cure diseases, I'll be spending just as much to prevent those diseases in the first place. And then monies that would have been spent curing those diseases will actually have been diverted to other more productive sectors. So then again, I'll come back to the same issue, that is an issue of leadership. Our leadership seems to have their priorities misplaced. And this is not an attack on any particular administration. We are just pointing out where the flaws and the problems are, so we can issue remedial actions, start or initiate remedial actions to addressing them. With our local dialect, they said you wouldn't know that you wouldn't know the direction you're walking except someone who is following you. In that when you're walking, you wouldn't know if you're veering off course or staying on track, right? Yes. So what we are doing is just calling these things to government's attention, that these are the things that need to be fixed and we need you to fix. Again, we've opened up.
So let's listen to one person.
We are ever willing to.
Let's listen to. I want you to listen to this testimony from these people. Listen to this.
Wannan toilet na nuna wani na da niyan da zai muna wanga toilet akwa Hausa toilet ha me bejina ha yitwa toilet we nya da kira manfo sai ya hauni toilet ni da yayi ni on ya kira manfo on ina ga bi su kira mi sai toilet ne me buwa ya sifi furo isin chain kaga masalan kaga mutanen mu ko kaga ni alganiyu alhasan
fufuro bia do beka sia si toilet fufuro bia oboa ya na tie area no etemu ha ya na tie obia no wa si toilet fufuro bia wa even kura fi say start politics kura MCU no kura po ya ne sa so na nim be hwa ade kura wo ba won si ha da ama ya to abana wie nto bia si toilet bia wa na area yi toilet fufuro bia wa area say ya na tie ha say
ngode that's it.
I hope you heard I hope you heard the conversation right now from a citizen who's really complaining about the toilet and the latrine around. So, for instance, fighters. Yes, I'm listening to you. Yes, I'm listening to you. Yeah, I'm here.
Could you say again? The line was breaking. I didn't get you.
Yeah, I say you can say you heard the testimony of the citizens of that area where they are saying that the place was left this way whenever it is time for election. Even they try to go and talk with our people that are supposed to govern us, but none of them was able to take it into consideration, and it was left this way for quite long. So you people, you can see what is really happening here. Yes. Can you hear me?
Come ahead.
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, comrade?
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes, it's good.
Hello, comrade. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So go on.
Yeah. You asking a question. I didn't get that.
I said, look at the kind of the pressure people are going on up to date, and then looking at the testimony, the guy who was in the testimony of him being a citizen of that area, that since every day when they call the leaders to come and take care of the area, they don't take care of it. And even he was saying that they're afraid that this place can explode because the toilet they have been accumulated over that place. So it is likely that place can explode. So how can we involve our leaders into making this kind of changes? If people are saying we should fix our attitude, and our attitude cannot be fixed when the system is not fixed.
One of the problems we notice is, you see, the political awareness of the masses, particularly the youth, is non-existent, and it's deliberate. It's deliberate that they keep they keep the system like that. You see, if someone comes to you, right, and they come make certain promises to you that we want you to vote for us, so we can deliver these things to you, you should be able to measure or to as it were judge the things you're hearing against a certain practicality or feasibility module to see if it's really feasible, right? And if you are politically mature to a certain extent, there's certain things that would not wash with you, right? So, for instance, if a leader comes to you and says he's going to provide a particular policy to you or some service, you're going to ask certain significant questions like, how are you going to do this? Where is the funding going to come from? How are we going to pay back in the shortest possible time? As if it's going to be a loan, you ask specific details. You don't just get excited by the promise that you've heard. And the reason why we keep electing this kind of leaders is because we are not politically aware to that extent, right? They keep us low dealing with partisan politics, so we don't focus on nation building policies, right? So someone is looking at what he's going to get, his personal gain, or the prestige of having his party in power. That's what all they are concerned about. But they don't look at how whatever promises the person is making is actually going to factor into the nation building agenda. So it comes down to our political awareness. If we become politically aware, we'll be able to change the kind of leaders we keep electing to handle our affairs. So this is one of the reasons why we are engaging in some, and I commend you for this initiative you've taken. This is actually sending the message to the people to get them to become more politically aware, and then they know how to hold or demand the best from our so-called leaders. Yes.
Here it comes. We have an issue that we've seen people, because most of our youths, we don't know. We have a lot of youth say they are concerned of a certain area, but I don't know why most of them are quiet in this particular time.
Yeah. And then again, it comes to what I just said, the political consciousness and awareness. Someone doesn't understand how the finance minister going to borrow some monies affects him directly. I mean, for all he cares about, he's not even going to get any of that money in his pocket. He still has to go about his daily hustle. So why should he care, right? We talk about a president spending huge sums of money on a chartered flight, right? Going around certain countries in Europe. The youth is hearing this and he's asking himself, I mean, so what? How does it affect me? You get it? So it's that political awareness. Most of the youth are quiet today because they do not, the youth are quiet today because they do not understand how these things affect them directly. And it's our job as revolutionaries to be able to explain the concept, I mean, the complicated or complex concept of political issues. We're supposed to bring them down to a language where these people can understand and draw the connection between what is happening and how it affects them. Now, when we're able to push these things forward, that's when people begin to see the interest in it and then they get concerned. I'll give a typical example. So someone says, so if these people go and borrow monies, they'll go and spend it, they buy the V8 and those big cars and all those things. I don't get some, so I mean, family, right? Because to pay back for that loan that they're going to take, it is us who are going to pay for it. And how do we pay for it? They will increase the taxes on fuel prices. And as soon as fuel prices go up, it affects utility prices, which is our water, and it's the price of food commodities, right? So the food you used to buy for 2 cedis would no longer be enough. You have to spend 3 cedis or 4 cedis, right? They would increase, everything actually is increased. Taxes on everything goes up because they'll have to raise money to go and pay back the loans that they have borrowed to buy those V8s and those other things that they spend on. So because when it comes to the time we have to pay, we are the ones who are going to pay. Yes. You see, and maybe that should be the next hashtag. So we have to explain.
Exactly. Yeah, that's good.
So we have to explain
it's a good answer.
That all of this, all of.
Yeah,
So we have to explain to them. Yeah, we should explain to them that all of these things that happen actually affect you directly, and because it affects us directly, and we bear the liabilities for their inactions and their actions, we have to be concerned in the governance process.
Yes. Now let's listen to one of our leaders. Let's listen to our African leader right now, and listen to what he said to
television. And I find our leaders who should have been working together all along to address these problems that commonly affect countries wait until they are invited to go to Europe to sit there and just You know, they are made to sit down and address their problems. Why does anybody wait for that? What image does it even give about us, about Africa? In fact, the image it gives is that we are not there to even address these problems. We are there for a photo opportunity. We are happy to sit there in Paris with the president of France and address and just talk about addressing problems. It doesn't make sense that our leaders cannot get themselves together to address problems affecting our people. It doesn't make sense. Of course, I'm saying this painfully. On the other hand, that well, I look forward for the time when I can be like the two former presidents. I think they are more free to say than I do.
You have to mute my mic.
Being where they are, me being where I am, so I have to remain with some reservations about what I have to say, because, but I think there is that serious problem. African leaders, we don't need to be invited anywhere to go and address problems without first inviting ourselves to come together to tell each other the actual truth that we must tell each other about our serious problems.
That's the saying from one of the leaders that we know in Africa. And what do you think about this his speech?
Yes, that's Paul Kagame, president of Rwanda.
Yes.
And let me just and the concept of nation building, right? So after the genocide, which is regrettable to even mention, but after that incident in 94, 96, right? Rwanda was a country, but then they came together as one people and decided to build a nation, all right? So after that incident, it created a sense of shared destiny or shared ambition or a shared goal, right? Where they said we have to build or rebuild our nation. So now it brought everybody together, irrespective of your social class, your ethnic background, your level of education. That didn't matter. Your religious affiliations didn't even matter yet. Everybody came together under that one goal of rebuilding Rwanda. Now that is the goal they're all forging towards. So you realize that they built a national consciousness and are now operating as one unit, a nation. So even today, if you go to Rwanda and you refer to yourself as any of the local ethnicities, it's against the law. The law actually does not recognize any other ethnicity. It recognizes only bring back memories of those days. But all of those ethnicities are not recognized right now. It is just you being a Rwandan. That is the ultimate and the most important. We had a similar process that was established here in Ghana prior to 1957. So you realize that from 1949, there was a national consciousness where the people came together and said we must attain our independence. And that's what created a certain national consciousness. And around that, we began to mobilize our efforts together or organize ourselves towards that attainment of that goal. So it didn't matter or you were Ga, or you were Kapim, or you were Ewe. It didn't matter. The fact was that we were one people as a nation called Ghana who were fighting towards independence. You see, that's how the consciousness is created. So Rwanda was that initiative was led by Paul Kagame. He led that initiative towards nation. And today Rwanda has become a shining example to everyone in Africa. They have the most efficient, in fact, Kigali is the cleanest city in the whole of Africa. They have one of the best BRT system, that's the rapid bus transit system, the best. They actually have, recently he commissioned a project for an entire township had been built for the homeless, people who didn't have homes, who were living in the streets and all that. There's a whole township that's been built for people like that. Just a few weeks ago, he cut short for the construction of affordable housing units for the youth. He says when you are above, I mean, when you're a youth right now, you're above the legal consenting age, and you're a young adult, you are supposed to be entitled to accommodation. So they started building high-rise buildings to provide accommodation for the Rwandan youth. I mean, this is how nation building is done. And most of these things they are doing are locally funded, because Rwanda has gone to a stage where they're able to generate enough revenue internally to support some of this non-productive expenditure. And this is exactly what I was talking about. So the posture that Kagame has taken, and his rhetoric that he was pushing, was one that was trying to get African leaders to think of becoming self-sufficient and stop depending on going around to borrow monies from Europe and all of that. And in actual fact, people don't really even understand the effects or the effects or the consequences of borrowing monies from other countries. I mean, from European countries and all that. And I'd like to cite a few examples just to bring them up to speed. So we have global institutions like the World Bank and IMF that claim to be lending money to countries that need them, right? But one of the things you have to understand is that those monies don't come free. There's nothing like a free lunch. So before you qualify for getting those funds, you have to make certain concessions. And one of which is, in recent times, right here in Ghana, there was supposed to be an embargo placed on the recruitment of government workers. So one of the conditions was that you have to cut down on the number of nurses and healthcare professionals that you recruit. Now, how can you do this when you have a very unequally balanced ratio between healthcare professionals and the population? You get it. We actually need more nurses right now in our hospitals to take care of the people. But as a conditionality for qualifying to borrow money from some of these international organizations, they tell you not to employ healthcare professionals. See, this is actually to the detriment of that conference, was that he was trying to get our people to understand the importance of self-sufficiency, where you get to a point where you don't have to rely on borrowing monies to survive. And yes, if we listen to this, I wish African leaders would actually take a cue from what he's doing in Rwanda and follow suit. It would be to our benefit.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think we have a lot today. We are off our time. We have taken 7 minutes of your time, and then we are looking at this. This is the vision city of Rwanda, and everybody wish he have the same thing in his own country. So you guys, you have to put this together. Have you seen the picture of Rwanda, and have you seen how it's developing the area? This is what we need in Africa. We are not there. This government is good, that government is bad, but the only thing that makes the youth and the people to start crying is when we start taking our self-esteem serious. Because once that African child, a Ghanaian child, cannot decide that I'm living in a good condition, then that we have to keep on striving, making them to come to the reality. Ghana got independent decades before Uganda. But today, I'm sure you look at the beautiful land. If someone is this Uganda or is in Europe or is America, you see glass in Uganda, no, they're glass. So if somebody say that, if somebody tells you that, please, let's call the government, let's call those returned leaders to accountability. Don't say "enfa hashtag "enfa." That is it. The new hashtag is "enfa." Fix the country. "Enfa." Omo wisikano. "Enfa." Omo sekulu. "Enfa." V8 "Enfa." Everything they are doing in the name of our tax money, in the name of our monies we are borrowing outside. As you see, our just give us a very great light on this. So before we say goodbye to you from this program, I want Comrade to say one or two words and then to the people, to our brothers and sisters in Europe, in diaspora, let me say, and our brothers and sisters also in Africa. What are the things you want to tell brothers and sisters who are also taking this seriously, both in Europe, both in diaspora and back at home?
Yeah. It's only to get involved. We should all keep this conversation going. We shouldn't shy away from discussing some of these things. We should just keep working together. I mean, we shouldn't just criticize the government, but we should actually be preferring solutions, make suggestions. But it's not up to just our representatives in leadership positions who are supposed to take this thing on. We're supposed to have these conversations amongst ourselves. Let's discuss suggestions and solutions amongst ourselves. And yes, with that, we raise the political awareness of our fellow youth. And together we can push this agenda forward for fixing our country and seeing a better country. Hopefully to not even be a country, to move to become a proper nation, as we're seeing our neighbors in Rwanda doing. So yes, thank you for this opportunity to reach out to our people. I hope we keep this conversations going on much longer. And yes, God bless.
This is the point. Now we have our brother, our comrade, our comrade Nii Aryee. He just be with us right here and giving us a very good, important information on how we build our nation. That's nation building. That's the name of the program today. Please kindly share this video, send this information. Maybe some doesn't know about how to build a nation can learn something from here. We are not telling anybody to pay a watch, or we are not getting any money from anybody, but what we play as a concerned citizens and concerned citizens of Africa and Ghana specific today. So please, brothers and sisters, share the video. And also you have to know that to be a member of a change, you have to start it yourself. So if somebody tells you that it's not possible, if someone tells you that tell it, because the V8 the kind of corruption going on, because we are trying to build this nation, not because of me and you just here, but building for our future. Because the future to come is the most important talking about here. Because if our future are not ready to live in a better situation, then we are not ready to rest. Because let me tell you something, many things are happening today. Most of our fathers, grandfathers are struggling, even in their old age. I saw a retired army soldier who have to keep on struggling to survive because there is no infrastructure. So thank you very much for watching this program. You are on the Ghana Youth Empowerment Movement. If you are over there, please go to our Facebook, and then also like the page, so that whenever we are bringing this conversation, you can also be there to share your opinions. Thank you to all brothers and sisters who are here and also support and share the information around. Thanks to who don't know and they got to know today. Thanks to those who knew it and then they still contribute to the information. Thanks to the Economic Fighters League for being part of this program, for trying to empower people, not for their own selfishness, but for the nations, as important that is. So if you don't know much about the Economic Fighters League, you can find Economic Fighters League on Facebook, on many platforms. You can, on Facebook, they are written Fighters. That is the main name. I can show you the logo. The Facebook, they are written Fighters. So you can get Economic Fighters League in many ways on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. So follow them, and where they are a resistant movement. They are to be a president also, but they are resistant. They say the economy, because when our economy is fixed, then we are not fixed. That's why we run into Europe, passing through the Mediterranean Sea. For me, advocacy is that one day no one will a Mediterranean Sea again. That is more important for us. And also, let me tell you something. Also here in Europe, in Europe, having a Pan-African federation movement that we keep on uniting ourselves from kind of the country to a different world, and then we are keeping on united. And very soon we'll be coming on to the issue on the Pan-African chaos. What is happening in the Pan-African Parliament? We can also meet very soon. I'll send the link and everybody will be part. And then we are here to fight for Africa. I love you all and may God bless you all. And hoping that next time we'll meet again and then may we get the empower. They say that we should vote, but we know our power, right? So thank you very much, everybody, for being on this show. So now I'll read some of your comment for the last time because very good I say. So thanks to Pretty Nata for being on the program to the end. Thanks to Arin who was our guest for the last week, and then Olele Anyas for being here, and many I cannot mention all of them. You all, and then Pretty Nachasha is saying that good job, Mr. Razon. Thank you to Pretty Nachasha for you sharing, and also we're saying thanks for the comrade Aryee Opare. Good, and Yusuf Razvamba. Thank you very much, also comrade. Thank you very much. And then fix the country movement. That's it. That's what Mr. Gasti is saying. And then we got what again? It's a great effort, comrade. And remember, fix the country. Ole Anyas. Bayam, yeah, that's it. And then Elmer say, powerful. We are powerful. We unite and we'll be more powerful than they think. That's how it is. We have time here, and I love the show because it's real. We always keep it real because the reality makes everything real. Nothing we have to is only real. The fighting spirit. The fighting spirit will go to real. Thanks to Pretty Natasha, and then Gassis, old slaves. And with empty brain and sinful thought, how you drive V8 cars, and innocent people of Ghana that vote for you are living in dirt. Thank you. And then we have Abu Umoro. He said, fix the country. Abu Umoro is also going to come to my program one day. He's also one of the Pan-African and also a resistance movement fighter over here in Italy. And we are going to bring him here so that he can also say something to the people, to the immigration, and why he wants to want people and the nation. Thank you all, and may God all. Before I say goodbye, I love you all, and then we'll meet again next week, and then we'll have a very nice conversation again. And if you have anything you want us to discuss, that is much more important. We don't think it will be benefit for our people. Kindly don't hesitate. Just give me a contact, and we do that. Fix the country. Is it the ballot or the paper? Hold your power.
It's Beats Vanessa Potato.
Talk to me now. We are deeper than we were. Black nature. Preach. Deprivation of rights and privileges. So my question be why we keep voting and they sucking the blood of the whole nation. No cry, no can see Umbuaji said DNT. They can't forge a bracha and Yakuyachi. Or man anti upon some crab more money. The travel so my movie and here who I she. This be time of the awakening young voting. This a quite no mama yet DIM voting. A Juma 7 no mama shed DIM voting. Yes, salary no mama to answer I am voting. Economy na so range na pa I am voting. If you want to be strong, join fighters. The revolution is on to the big liars. We're getting rid of thieves and the blood suckers. No rules, no vote, national anthem. This time of fall, they're the one here cashing. Until we see a change, or the one at the bar machine. This time of fall, I hold my power. Till you see a change, if I hold your power. You don't suffer, I hold my power. Too much corruption, you hold your power. Schools on the trees now. You can take this no more. Hold your power. Suffering, baby. I hold my power. Brutality. You can take this no more. shackles of your mind, the game is over. Everybody join the fight and hold your power. Cause it's better to die than to live and suffer. Hands up, don't vote, young man trimmer. Since 1992, we started voting. What did them do for me and you? Now 2020, one more man by your April Fool. Sebi, what is the wisdom in the school you went to study? A common GA, you can I'm a brain and ballot. I feel soon I near we all they wake up. And the new generation really jack up. Now you better run away, cause we know be cowards. 84 million CDs, the jail is slavery. If you look into the future, be very scary. Even your child is in debt, I'm really sorry. Hold your power for a change, everybody. Tisa kwa no mama yet DIM voti. A Juma 7 no mama shed DIM voti. Yes, salary no mama to aso I am voti. Economy na so range na pa I am voti.
But you no mahu be say Abu Abeni. Wanna figure say we mumunya tawo for shiki. This time of all, then we're here cashing. Until we see a change, what the one and the machine. Yekawada Oto my saucy. And figure say we mumunya tawo for shiki. This time of all, I hold my power. Till you see a change, if you hold your power. You don't suffer, I hold my power. Too much corruption, you hold your power. Schools and the trees, God, hold my power. You can take this no more, hold your power, suffering, baby. I hold my power, mortality, legal. We can take this no more, I hold my power. You hold your power. Before hold my power. Hold your power. I hold my power.